Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. It's 12:03. I think we can start the webinar. So I'd say, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our live webinar, AI Adoption from 0 to 30,000 Users. My name is Asad Jobanputra. I'm the VP of Product at Royal Cyber, where we're launching new products in higher education. I'll be the host for today's webinar, and I'm glad you're all here today. Before we dive in, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll be sharing the recording with you after the session, along with any presentation materials. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. You can also do so by typing them into the QA box at any time. We'll address questions during our dedicated QA segment at the end of the presentation. Just a bit about Royal Cyber. So we're an IT digital transformation solutions company, and we're doing a lot of work in higher education. We have over 20 years of experience, and we're based in Naperville, Illinois. So for today's session, I'm excited to present today's session along with my colleagues, Kemal Badur, CIO of Northwestern University, and Sundar Ramakrishnan, Higher Education Director at Microsoft. Kemal, can you start and can you provide a bit of your context and your background?
Yes, I'll start by correcting that I'm the CTO at the University of Chicago.
CTO, okay.
So we're close, but we're not that close. Well, hey, I'm happy to be here. I am, like I said, the Chief Technology Officer at Chicago, and my role covers our core infrastructure operations, including customer support. And for the context of this meeting, I'm also responsible for managing our key AI initiatives at the university right now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kemal. Sundar, can you give us a bit of your context and your background as well, please?
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Sundar Ramakrishnan. I'm Azure Director Specialist for higher education. I'm serving higher education in the Central US, customer like Kemal and others. My focus is only on higher education. I've been 18 years with Microsoft and 9 years on the EDU space.
Oh, fantastic, excellent, thanks. So we have a lot of topics to cover today. That I think that from our polling, it was sort of relevant to a lot of higher ed and universities figuring this out. What I wanted to start with is, Kemal, can we start with your story? Can you take us back to like around this time last year in 2024? What was the situation like when you were developing an AI strategy, and what were some of the driving factors behind your approach?
Sure. So this time last year would have been about 15 months since the release of ChatGPT, and everybody getting very excited about the opportunities with generative AI. And of course, we have been talking to our stakeholders on campus to understand their needs, to think about where we wanted to go. And there were several things that were already clear to us. We knew we wanted to offer a set of tools that were available to everyone. We didn't want to make it selective or restricted to only those who could pay or a small subset of people. So our ambition was pretty large, you could say. The second was we were keenly aware of security and privacy concerns of free or not even free products. Not every vendor was able to promise us security and privacy in the way we wanted, and we knew that we needed to find a solution to help us drive in that direction. And so those were the key drivers at the time. And we had evaluated and already deployed some solutions, but they were not ready to do what we wanted. So this time last year, we started drafting a proposal to build our own private chatbots using a secure platform and using OpenAI models, because we knew from the feedback of our customers that they really wanted to use OpenAI's tools, first and foremost, and they were interested in others potentially later. So those were the kind of the foundations, and we started putting this down to paper and advocating for it in with our stakeholders. So that's where we're at the time, and I hope I made the driving factors clear. Okay, I can't hear you, AJ.
You're on mute, AJ.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about leadership? Like who are your stakeholders? What was their thought process? Like what was the situation when you're talking to clients, instructors, admins, provosts, like across the university?
I mean, talking to the users or potential users, they were really excited about potential. Many people were skittish of, they had concerns, they had anxiety over the, potential risks of AI, and we were very transparent about those too. And we wanted to make clear to everyone that we did not want to deploy these things thoughtlessly. We did not want to say, yes, from now on, everybody will just use these without any care in the world. That's why security and privacy were key factors. We also wanted to do as much as we could about education. And for our senior leadership, again, like I said, we started around this time last year. And in the summer, we had some more in-depth conversations with our provost, with the dean of our undergraduate college, the VP of research. So leaders like that who had the broader view of the institution and who decided that, again, around the summer, it was going to be that, and they decided that it was going to be useful to follow the strategy that we provided.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I remember last year there's a lot of fear about where's my data going, hallucinations, security. Like that's a big concern.
Oh, it's still there.
Safe.
It's still there, and I don't think the mainline vendors really have not provided a better solution for that. And there are some education offerings that vendors provide now here and there, but fundamentally those fears are still there, and we are very confident that the path we chose has worked out to our satisfaction.
Yeah, and we have so I'm looking at what's available in the market today, and there's a lot of solutions and a lot of use cases for piloting within the teaching and learning experience, admin. I wanted to do a quick poll from the audience, so if everyone who's participating can fill out the poll. We'll get an idea for, of the participants, how many people are piloting AI in teaching or learning use cases, admin, or IT or HR use cases, and whether they're building in-house or working with vendors, and if they're rolling out. So give it a second. Just give us a minute and we can see. Yeah, so if you're on, you should get a polling question. Yeah, okay. So I'm just looking at the results here. So I'm going to close the poll. We should share the results. So it's kind of a 50-50 split. So it sounds like between piloting higher education and admin and IT, people are doing like lots of, or yeah, it's almost slightly more in teaching and education, and also building in-house versus piloting with vendors. It's also about a 50-50 split. I know some universities are doing a bit of both, where they're doing some stuff with open source, also doing stuff that they're building. I think we've got very few at a scale where they're adopting full campus wide type of solutions that we have. So from here, Kemal, I was going to ask you, can you talk about some of the use cases that you had? So particularly those around administration, research, university operations. What were some of the priorities, or what was your way of looking at those cases?
So for the admin use cases, nobody will be surprised that people are excited about finding ways to reduce workload on staff. Similar to many higher education institutions, we have more to do with not enough staff. And people really like the idea of doing customer support, a 7x24 ability to respond to students' questions, applicants' queries about, what we are requiring for their applications. Things like that have been really exciting to people. They love the idea of creating a repository of institutional knowledge, so that if you're a new hire, you come in and you have a question, instead of finding the right person to ask, you can ask a chatbot that knows that material and deliver it to you. Okay. Specifically, research administration is an area where there's a lot of excitement around this. because there are very standard questions that people have to answer for researchers about compliance, grants management, and things like that. So that's something that we are working on actively. On the research side, it's it's kind of like the Wild West. There are people with so many ideas, so many different concepts of, let me feed this 5,000 court cases and see if it can analyze them for me. Let me see if I can, do a video interviewer to capture people's, sentiments and then translate them. So, or do field tests, field experiments with virtual respondents, and to see how our research questions are going to get answered. And those are not necessarily, I'm sorry, I know these because I talked to a lot of people, but I also have to say that a lot of these are handled at the departmental level. You'll hear me say this multiple times. University of Chicago is a very entrepreneurial place. People like to chase their own ideas and do things on their own. So on that front, I know quite a few of the cases, but I'm sure there are many, many more, because people really like doing their own thing and figuring them out.
Yeah. Can you, so there's a lot of stakeholders and a lot of users. Like, did you do anything to help organize people? Like were there self-organizing communities within existing departments or groups? Did you help facilitate any AI like community of practice or something?
We're working towards that. We are doing a lot of engagements right now. So this week I spent half a day talking to a group of medical education experts. They wanted to hear about our tool. They wanted to hear about use cases for AI, and they brainstorm about how they can use it. I did something similar for our continuing education folks the week before. So we're collecting people. I mean, you're right. It's great for people to hear from each other, and want to facilitate as much as possible as we move forward.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, everyone's like learning on their own, and then they want to like share that knowledge or share that learning. Hey, I figured something out, have a new use case, have a new situation, have a new way of advancing or using these tools.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about teaching and learning? Was that the same, or was that different for like the teaching experience or the learning experience for students?
So again, we are a very decentralized place, and we have no desire to say there is one standard for using AI in the classroom. Every teacher is going to use it this way. Every student is going to follow these rules. We're never going to do that. In the absence of that, it is very much the instructor decides what's going to happen in their classroom or for their assignments. And so that means that the students are a little bit confused, because if you are taking 3 classes in a quarter, they can have wider different AI policies. But that's normal. Everybody's, getting used to AI in their own pace. They are trying to understand it and how it will apply how they can apply it in the best way in their classroom. So we have been encouraging people to talk to each other. My advice to students who are confused is to say, go in the first class and say, what is your AI policy here? What's allowed and what is not allowed, and have that conversation. So that's really, really important. And the other thing that we are doing is kind of similar to what I mentioned earlier. We really want to do as much outreach and education as possible. So we organize events for instructors. We, provide them with guidance. There are office hours they can go to, things they can follow. We publish success stories that they can learn from. So there's a lot of stuff we are doing to help people get more comfortable with AI and meet them where they're at, instead of imposing a standard or a requirement to them to use AI in a certain way.
Okay. And are there any I was looking at if there's an example or something for this. Like, one aspect that I've seen when I talk to a lot of universities is that, a lot of students already have their own personal license of ChatGPT or something else, right? So from the beginning, were you trying to find something that was better than ChatGPT or was your approach different? Or if you can speak about that.
Better than ChatGPT is a difficult question. And when people ask me to compete with ChatGPT or say, ChatGPT does this, why don't you? I sometimes tell them Microsoft did not give me $10 million or whatever it was, Sundar, to build an app. In the absence of that, we're not going to be able to compete with them directly. but I can confidently say that we believe we have achieved about 80% of the features of ChatGPT, if not more, at about 2% of the price, or potentially less. That's a pretty big success.
That's huge.
And
yeah, it's amazing.
so it worked out for us, is what I'm going to say. And so then do we want to be as good as ChatGPT? Of course we do, but I don't know if that's the right goal. For us, the goal was to give the cutting edge models in a suitable, secure, and private way to everyone in the institution. So how students to use it, that's a difficult question. We don't have a lot of I can't say 100% of our students have used it. And I know that some students are concerned that if they use our tool, then their interactions with it are fair game for their instructors or for their advisors to look at, which is uncomfortable. I get it, which we don't do, by the way, to be clear. Our privacy focus means that those interactions are not readily available to anyone to look at. You'd have to go to our legal counsel to look at a student's or anyone's interactions with Phoenix AI, our tool. Nonetheless, students would still like to go use their own. That's fine. But what I advise them is, if you are having it help your homework with your homework, that's fine. But if you're talking about your great startup idea, if you are talking about the great research idea that you have, or your mental health, anything private, maybe don't do that with the free version of ChatGPT, because we can't really trust them to not do something with that data. So the more privacy and security minded they are, the more they will use our tools, and if not, they won't. But that's part of the experiment here. We totally understand it.
Yeah, got it. And Sundar, can you speak a little bit about that Microsoft's approach for rolling out this technology to a higher education environment? Like Kemal's been talking about, there's lots of concerns relating to security, safety, hallucinations. If you can share what Microsoft is doing to help companies overcome these risks and adoption challenges.
Yeah, thanks. I think that one of the key thing for Microsoft, I think the security, take it very serious, right? You have seen Satya's several interviews and blogs and other leadership as well. So I think the one thing we can say, the Azure platform is enterprise grade security. That's with the data privacy. We have multiple levels on it. One is first one I would say is the data privacy, where when you have a data, whatever the data you are doing with the ChatGPT or any Gen AI, right? The data stays within your tenant, within your Azure tenant. It's not, we are not taking that data for a train our model or anything like that, and stays within the Azure tenant. And also the other thing is we have a responsible AI for content moderation and content safety to make sure that the results we are getting it is not, harmful or not kind of make sure that it is not very harm to the response way. And then the last but not least, and then the security level, I can say is also the role-based access. So that's one of the key feature. I can say you have any drive like OneDrive, Box, Google Drive, whatever, right? You have so many data and so many files. So we'll make sure that the person who are querying will have access to only the content which they are authorized and authenticated for that. And that's on the level. And then also we do have nowadays with a lot of models coming now, we have the infrastructure support. Like we have the AI Foundry is a serverless container where you can have any model, right? You can deploy any model in it, and then AI Foundry will have all the safety which we talked about, like content safety and things like that. That will be, the data will be protected on that. And then also the other last one is you can integrate this with our ecosystem with the other Microsoft suites of security suites or products that can be integrated easily. So that's we call it as a differentiator. So for us, we are of course we are very close to OpenAI on a partnership, but also we have other models available, and then we provide the platform which is very safe and secure customers.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. There's a lot more going to it than just like, using OpenAI, right? The way it's built, the way it's accessed and permissions and stuff is huge. You know, adapting for the university, it's really going from a consumer scale to like a enterprise or organizationally safe solution. That's huge. And Kemal, can you speak a little bit? I was going to go back over to you from a how the solution's built perspective. Can you talk a little bit about Royal Cyber? So you're developing the strategy. There were all these concerns. What were some of the factors in choosing Royal Cyber, and how did you cooperate that with your internal teams?
Sure. So we developed the strategy. We had our pillars. We knew what we want to get to, and when we got the green light to start building it, we went to market with an RFQ, and we made it clear what we were looking for. Microsoft helped us out a lot by identifying partners that have had experience building things like this before, and trusted parts of the ecosystem. And when we did the RFQ, Royal Cyber came out as the winner. And because they understood our requirements, they could prove that they had done the work before, and they understood how to get from nothing to where we needed to be. And so we embarked on our journey. And for people listening in higher education, they will have a hard time believing this, but we did the RFQ in 2 weeks, and we built the app in 6 weeks. And that was amazing. And what was even more amazing is that it's not that Royal Cyber just repackaged something they had already done. We had tons of requirements about security. We had a huge amount of review that went into building this securely in Azure. And both Microsoft and Royal Cyber spent a lot of time, rising to the requirements that we had and working with us to meet them. We also were very keen on accessibility. We want to make sure that these tools that we were offering would be accessible to people who needed assistive technologies. So work with a screen reader, work in high contrast, and all sorts of things like that. And that meant building and rebuilding components of multiple times potential to get things done. So Royal Cyber was very responsive to everything that we wanted. They listened instead of telling us, this is the package product we have, use it or else. It was really a collaboration where we ended up with exactly what we wanted, and it worked out really well. Since then, another thing that I'm really grateful for is when we discovered a security issue with a component that we had, or when we were doing an upgrade and there was a problem, Royal Cyber was incredibly responsive to get things taken care of right away. I mean, in fact, we had an issue this week that was resolved within hours because we could reach out and say, this is a problem, fix it for us now. I can't imagine having a situation like that arise with a vendor that was providing us with a SaaS-based chatbot, and we said, hey, there's a problem, and I don't think they would have fixed it as fast as Royal Cyber did. So I think that's really the key parts of the partnership that I'm really happy with, and I'm hoping that we will be able to continue with that as we are figuring out what we are doing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's huge. Like the markets, especially considering how quickly the market is changing and new technologies are emerging. There's new features being available, new vulnerabilities that go along with that. So that adaptability, being able to respond quickly is huge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So from speaking of that, like with technology coming out so quickly and new advancements and new features within the models themselves, I've had some people describe our situation like we're all in one big AI beta test. All these new things are out and we're all just figuring it out together. There's no like the traditional wait for next version for this and you'll get this batch of features and you can review and approve. It's all sort of happening so much in real time as like the consumer versions of these tools are become available. What was your approach to rolling out Phoenix AI in an environment where the underlying technology and requirements are changing so quickly?
So, I mean, calling it a beta test maybe is even being too optimistic, and alpha might be true, because there is an announcement every week. Like in December, every single OpenAI, Google, and I think there was at least one other that Anthropic. They all had big announcements about agents, about operators, about things I can't even remember anymore. And there came DeepSeek in last month, and there is deep research now that everybody is super excited about. So it's constantly changing, and it's impossible to keep up. And I don't think anybody should try to. It's important to focus on what's going to create value for you. And that's what we are trying to focus on. So after the initial, we came up, we heard a lot from our users. We had a huge list of features people wanted. We then prioritized those based on demand and based on how realistic it was to build them. So now we are working with Royal Cyber to deploy those features over the next couple of months. Okay. And we want to go where our users want to go, not wherever OpenAI or Google want to go. And it's important to keep track of those things and be aware of them. So, for example, one of the first new features, the first new additional feature we added was the custom GPTs. Custom GPTs to help people create their own RAG-based bots to meet their own needs, and that has proven to be a very productive avenue for people to experiment with. Then the next big thing we added was the O1 model. Because the difference between GPT-4o and O1, especially for our researchers, they think it would be really useful to use O1 in their research, and it's not available. Or it wasn't, at least. I'm not even sure anymore what the free tier of OpenAI includes. So making that available was a big part of being responsive to the needs of our community. And those needs are going to evolve. The things that they want will change, and we will figure it all out. I tell people, nobody's late to this game. Nobody is late because they don't have an enterprise chatbot or a subscription to, for everyone to whatever model. We're all figuring this out. It's much better to reflect on your needs, reflect on your requirements as a community, and how comfortable people are with what, and understand what they want before going in, spending your time buying or building a solution. I know the fear of missing out is huge. Especially if you are in the same, in my world right now, everybody is doing something with AI. Everybody is, super jazzed about, following the newest trend, but we cannot run a university that way. We cannot be that reactive and, chasing whatever the next shiny object is. Find value where you think it is, and then go dig deeper into that.
Yeah, you talked about a 4 pillars strategy. Can you elaborate on that?
Security, privacy, equity, and accessibility. Those are the 4 pillars. Equity is giving everyone access to the same model without reserving the good parts for some people and not for the others. And accessibility, I touched on the digital accessibility of the tools for people who need assistive technologies.
Okay, gotcha. And when you talk about new things coming out all the time, and you shouldn't even bother trying to keep up with them, but we are launching out new functionality and compatibility with O1 and other features. At the end of the day, I think it's a matter of placing bets. This is a use case, you want to go deep in a particular area or go broad for innovation or the content creation, or go deep in a particular use case.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, all of that goes back to making eventually investment decisions. Where do you want to place your bets, and where you want to spend your money and your time and your focus on.
Yeah.
And I think for you also have to align that across so many different stakeholders that you mentioned before, like the provost and the administration and leadership and stuff like that. Can you talk about how you work together with your peer group about where to place your bets and where to invest, or what to do now versus what to do later? How do those conversations go?
Like I said, we're very decentralized, and there is no, my vision doesn't drive where AI is going at University of Chicago. There is no person who's driving it. What we are trying to do, and from my perspective, is to try and pull together, as like you mentioned earlier, having a community of people who talk to each other, finding innovators who want to do important things. So to give you an example, this week I talked to our medical school, our law school, our medical center, our business school, and the team that works on organizational effectiveness at HR. They all have ideas. They all want to
Yeah.
invest in things. There is no one thing that we can say, oh, if we do this, we're going to make millions of dollars or save millions of dollars. That justifies the TCO of the solution that we are building. We're done. There is no such thing. And it's even, you know, there are some cases that will, you know, come up with some kind of, you know, return on investment, but many are, like you said, still bets. You don't know how they're going to pay off. So our goal is to have as many people as possible empowered throughout the organization that can go to leadership from their perspective and say, if I can build this tool using Phoenix AI or, you know, whatever else IT can do for us, we will be able to make this difference. We will be able to improve service for students this way, innovate in research in this way. And that's what we are trying to cultivate as much as possible. And if we can pull together enough use cases that can support the investment that we want to make, then I think we're going to have a rather easy time to do it. And this doesn't cost a ton of money, by the way. We're not spending millions and millions and millions. So at least right now, I think this year we are set with our budget and we are very comfortable. Next year we'll see where it will go. You know, how much we want to do, but I think it will take a couple years until we can really say this is the total investment we want to make and this total return we are going to get. Everything is still up in the air, and providing value is not easy in any field.
Yeah. And I just want to elaborate a little bit more on the budget side of things. Like in many institutions, budgets are like, they're structured in sort of a complex way between the different schools and centrally and within certain departments and so forth. And I think that's a big aspect. So did you have scenarios where like the business school or the medicine school wants certain things, or they're doing initiatives that built on top, or were you aligning on items where like, if I build this one feature, it'll have, you can save budget from other schools, for example? Like, was that a challenging conversation to?
I mean, it is a challenging conversation if you try to squeeze people all in one place, and we're not doing that. So, for example, our business school is planning to deploy your Canvas-based virtual TA tool, and they are driving that all by themselves. I mean, we're going to work with them, we're going to talk to them, but they want to do it because their faculty, their administration decided that's something worthwhile for them to do. What I will do my best to cultivate is to get them to talk to everyone else. If someone else comes to me and says, I'm really excited about the idea of virtual TA, I want to be able to say, here, let me introduce you to the folks at the business school who are doing this, and they can tell you what they did. And if there are enough people who want that, then we can say, all right, we're going to now make ClassBuddy an enterprise-wide tool and figure it out that way. But until then, this will all be in different parts of the university. And I've been in this business for a very long time, so I'll give you an example from history. When I started in IT, I was working in a small department and a slightly larger one. We ran our own network, we ran our own email servers, web server, everything. And because they were still experimental, there was no like big network that was connecting everything. And we were just doing what we wanted to do because we had some people who wanted to do those things done. But over time, we gave up on all of those things. We did other things. We moved to classroom technology. We moved to social media technology. We moved. So in the innovation that happens in a decentralized unit at a university is the lifeblood of this place, from my perspective. Maybe I'm biased because I come from that background. I want those things to happen out in those places, and hopefully in a productive, in a collaborative, open way. And then those ideas maybe will rise to an enterprise level, like email did.
Yeah.
In 1995, not a lot of people were convinced that email was going to be a thing. Well, today we made that decision, but it didn't take 30 years. But I think this is going like that too. Some ideas will thrive. Some ideas will be taken up by everyone. Some will not, and it should be the experimentation should happen everywhere, not just in one place under one person's vision or guidance. So that's one of the reasons I like working at the university, because you get to see that breadth, and hopefully we'll be able to build enough relationships and collaboration to take the good ideas and scale them to everyone.
Okay. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, thank you for that. Let me see here. So Yeah. Yeah, it's very good feedback. It's a very like practical, realistic way, like right, the way dealing with reality is. I did want to open up to questions for the audience, and so yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them to the questions in the tool. And then after that, I think maybe Sundar and Kemal, I'll turn it back to you for some closing remarks, and I have a couple announcements at the end.
Okay.
So I'll wait for the questions. Let me see here. Okay, so we have a few questions here. The first question is, can you elaborate? So Mary Hall is asking, can you elaborate what were the use cases that you were talking about? You know, maybe take, for example, is there one or two particular assistants that were built by the community that were particularly interesting?
Sure. One thing that I found fascinating is an instructor who's teaching calculus in our undergrad college realized that she had this problem all along. There were some students who were not prepared because they had not taken enough, pre-calculus courses, and they were struggling in it was very hard to catch them up during the class because you need to use your class time to teach the material you're supposed to teach instead of remedial math. So she decided to build math tutors using Phoenix AI. And, this is something that I have to explain to people all the time. GPT-4o doesn't do math. But it turns out it actually can a little bit. And in her case, she has built these bots that can help people practice limits, continuity, derivatives and things like that within Phoenix AI. And what it does is it can do proof step by step, showing you how to take a limit problem, for example, and prove the conclusion, apply different rules, walk students through different examples. It generates examples and solves them, which again, I didn't think it would be able to do, but it's actually doing a pretty good job. And the fascinating thing about this is it's not doing a perfect job. So according to her testing, I don't know how deeply she tested, she thinks it's only 80% accurate. And your first reaction is, wait, that's not really helpful if it's only 80% accurate. And her reaction was, actually, it's fine because I tell the students it could be wrong. So as they are learning, they're also learning to look out for mistakes in math. I mean, these are not complex mistakes. These are, making mistakes in, simple math. And she thinks the students are actually totally fine because they get unlimited practice. They get to, work with someone who doesn't judge them, who doesn't get tired, who doesn't have to go to bed. And when there is a mistake, they are still applying critical thinking instead of blindly accepting what the bot is suggesting. So to me, this is a really interesting and fascinating use case, and we're working with her to build out more examples. I'm hoping to build something more sophisticated that can be more like cover the entire class instead of individual topics. But yeah, this was, again, something not something I would have innovated, because my mental frame is I cannot trust GPT-4o to do math. I'm not even going to try. In her case, she wanted to try it and it worked out.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. I like the idea that it's it wasn't a reliable answer, because I think more like we're trying to teach students how to learn. We're not trying to teach students just to give them the answer. So I think it's more important, the skill of being able to curate and assess how, what's the quality of an answer, or assess whether I can trust an answer is probably more important than the answer itself.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, to be clear, in that case, it makes sense. But if I'm building a chatbot to provide assistance to students who are applying to the University of Chicago, 80% for that one is not great. So that one needs to be a lot better at giving answers. So customer support agents cannot be only occasionally correct. So again, this requires you to understand their use case and approach things in that way. So, but again, innovation happens everywhere, and I'm glad that people are trying these things out and hopefully learning from their experiences.
Okay. Okay, so let me go through. I have a few more questions here. Maybe I can give it for Sundar or Kemal. Maybe Sundar can help with this one. What advice would you give to institutions that are hesitant to adopt an AI system due to concerns about disrupting existing systems or security?
Well, my advice is to do what we did. I mean, if security is your only concern, then trust, get your security people to show up and help design something that will be actually secure. Then I have many friends in higher education who have deployed other, either open source solutions or vendor solutions without building their own. That's totally up to them. And I'm sure you can make them secure as well. But in our case, this is what felt comfortable with. Make sure your security teams are at the table. They can give you feedback. They can tell you what they need to do. And also find a vendor that actually understands what security means. Okay. Which is how I'm handing it off to Sundar to talk about his experience.
Yes, and there, yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I echo what Kemal said, right? I think the CISO or whoever the security team needs to, approve this. But I can tell on the technical side, maybe the AI Foundry, right? Like again, I told earlier, the content is security is kind of what level of security you're looking for. It's a compliance or the security where you want to draw the line, and that's what it matters, right? If you're talking about the security where the data privacy and things like that, that AI Foundry is already given there. If you're talking about one level, upper level, like how we can be more the NIST compliance or HIPAA compliance and things like that, that's completely different conversation. I mean, it comes with, all our GA products are HIPAA compliance and SOC and things like that. Okay. So we can, again, we need to be working together as a team, like Kemal mentioned, CTO, CISO, and CIO, everybody come on table, and then we can, we can do that. And yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
And I will add to that. So our CISO has been very, very responsive to what we needed to build, and he's been very attentive. He knows what we are doing. We are in complete agreement with what we are doing, and he knows certain things are still being figured out. So we are taking risks potentially. We are making decisions that maybe in an enterprise solution we would not be 100% comfortable with, but we are making up for them later. So there is a trade-off here, obviously, because it's such a nascent and emerging field, and having a good relationship with your security team is critical, so that you appreciate those risks and they appreciate how those can be mitigated, or how they can be mitigated later if necessary.
Okay. So so Sarah's asking here, this may be a follow-up question of something similar. It just sounds like she's shocked that you were able to get things out the door in 6 weeks. So her question is basically, any suggestions on how to reduce processes, committees, procurement, security, all of those normal checks and those committee meetings or whatnot that you have? Any suggestions on how to get things done so quickly?
That's a long story. I cannot tell in 5 minutes. If she wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to talk. But I will say it really boils down to I will say two things. One, clear direction from leadership. The 6 weeks was not me saying I'll just do this. The 6 weeks was our leadership saying we want to make this available to everyone at the beginning of the academic quarter, and that made a big difference, obviously. The other thing was, I would say we have a really good relationship with our procurement folks, with our legal folks. And when we went and said, okay, we have to do this, and here's how we are going to handle it, here's how we're going to be thoughtful, we have a track record of being that way. We're not, cowboys that have burned them in the past, or not enough to, lose our credibility. And that really helped to move things along. And yeah, and we would never have been able to do it if Royal Cyber was not responsive and capable enough. So I have to give you guys shout out too. But institutionally, a clear mandate and direction really helps people not fall in line, but give you a hand. Nobody had to give up on something. They just could see, okay, you're not spending millions and millions. You're not taking huge risks. You understand what you are trying. We understand what you're trying to do because you are transparent about it. All of these things were, I think, critical factors to help us make that happen. But again, the longer story, I can tell people who might be interested in reaching out to me.
Okay. Sure enough. We'll have one last question, and then maybe we can wrap it up. So I think there's this conception that University of Chicago is a really big institution. So the question here, just the context here, is for universities with smaller budgets, what's the most affordable way to start integrating AI? So I'm imagining like a college or something that's got, a much smaller footprint. Any advice, Sundar or Kemal?
Kemal, you want to take it first, or?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think, I'm not going to give you numbers, but do your math. If your basis for cost is it costs $30 a month to buy Copilot 365 or $12 a month to buy OpenAI ChatGPT EDU, and you multiply those and you end up with really big numbers, I can reassure you we're paying far less than those. I wasn't kidding about 2%. This can be done really cheaply. And I will also say Royal Cyber has been really great to work with because we built an affordable solution. So don't assume that just because we are a big university, we ended up spending 8 figures on this. We did not. And that's do your homework, talk to the vendors to understand where it's going, because consuming these models through the APIs is shockingly cheaper than it is to buy subscriptions. It just is. And you should do your math, reach out to people who are doing this already to tell you about their token consumptions and API costs. They are nowhere near what you might imagine. That's where I'm going to leave it. Sundar.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on, Kemal. It depends on the number of users and the usage, right? What it all depends on comes into the use cases, right? If you're just looking for productivity, then that's a different use case. That's what Kemal was referring to, the copilots and things like that. But if you're looking for the campus-wide student, they want to use the AI, then could be the OpenAI or other models, right? That could be the Gen AI is the way to go there. To Kemal's point, the pricing is not like when 2 years back when we started, it was very high price. Now you can see there's nothing like that, right? So the prices are getting dropped day by day, and we do also have programs, right? Please reach out to your account team. We have some offerings or like PTU, we call it as a process throughput unit, where if you see a lot of users are using it and more workloads, then probably the cost saving methodology are there, so we can work with you to save some cost saving there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be of interest. I think it's for a lot of the participants.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here I have a few announcements here, and I'll go through these, and then we can wrap up. Any closing thoughts here, Kemal or Sundar? Go through these. Okay.
No.
Okay. So
one thing I want to just say, right? I think that from Microsoft perspective, goal is like our mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So with that thing, the AI is one of the key component that we have partners like Royal Cyber can help us to implement, and also we do have other programs like we can take you to the innovation hub for architecture, and also where we have some partner funding programs available. So please, you're not alone in this journey. Please reach out to your account team. We're happy to help you or assist you in this AI democratization. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, thanks for adding that. So I just want to wrap up here. So thank you everyone for your excellent questions, and a big thank you to Kemal and Sundar for sharing the expertise today. I hope you found this session insightful and that you're leaving with valuable takeaways. So before we wrap up, a couple of important announcements. As a special thank you for staying with us to the end, we're offering free access to Real Cyber is the teaching assistant solution. So click on this link or the QR code to take advantage of this bonus offer. We're also going to be, Real Cyber is also going to be attending the ASU plus GSV higher ed or educational technology event in San Diego in April 5th to 7th, and would love to join you in person, or love for you to join us in person to continue the conversation. Just as a reminder, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar along with a presentation and slides shortly. If you have any further questions or would like more information, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to connecting you at future events. Have a great day. Thank you.
you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.